And then I toggle between Joy and Pain and Southern Girl.
Welcome to Message Reveal. Message Reveal identifies a vibe, a message, or a story told through lyrics of a song. Well, you guys, if you rock with me every Monday, you know how I do. I tell you a few things that our special guest is associated with. So let's get started. One, he's a native of Las Vegas. Yes, we pick up our natives. Yes, I love natives. Yes, yes, yes. Not to say I don't love everybody else, but we have to represent for Vegas. Number two, he's one of the founders of the Vegas Black think tank, and we'll find out more throughout the conversation about his perspective on that. And last but definitely not least, he's one of the owners of Mariposa Cantina and Cocktail. Yes, and we're going to really find out more about that. We're going to have a good time. So you guys, please put your hands together and welcome my special guest, Mr. Devin. Yes, welcome, sir. How you doing?
Thanks. I am doing well. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invite. I was a little surprised when I received it, and definitely feel honored to be here. When someone wants to talk to you about anything you do in life, it's such a great opportunity to share it and, just have a conversation about, where you are and what's going on. So thank you for this time.
Oh, you are more than welcome, and I thank you, because I always tell people you could be doing anything else on your Friday, and you say yes to me.
That's right. It is
So,
Friday. I forgot. Yeah, that's right. You're right.
yes, we got to claim a will for me. Fridays, I love my Fridays. So anyway, I'm just thankful, and thank you again for saying yes. So before we get started, my theme, the second season of my theme is don't forget about the love. Sometimes we go do everything else and we forget about the love. To me, love is the center of everything. I'm going to put you on the spot. And can you identify a time where you forgot about the love and the love brought you back?
Ooh, that's a good one. So, yeah, I definitely can. I would say with my mother, we've had a challenging relationship over the years. And as she's began to age physically, um, it's reminded me of her frailty. And in that, as my journey has moved forward as a man, and I begin to learn that everyone, no matter what their position is in your life or in the world, that everybody has their own journey.
Yes.
And a lot of times we think our parents are superheroes, right? They can do anything, whatever it is, right? So we put them in this elevated space, and they should be, out of all due respect, equally. The human part of them is they get hurt, they get used, they have broken hearts, they have dreams that haven't been realized, they have, possibly childhood issues from their parents, things that they've never forgiven, from relationships. It's a whole myriad of things. And I had to learn that my mother sits in that space too. She's not exempt. And so when I was in a very selfish space of reflecting on what didn't happen and what did happen that I did not like in the past, it became a period where I forgot about the love. And then eventually, as I've aged and she's aged, and again, she's in the most frail space, I've had to reconsider the love and look at myself and challenge myself to go back to my first love, which was her.
I love that. I feel like you're talking to, so I have this back pew and I have people in the upper pew. you're definitely talking to someone, and more specifically, a man that has had a challenge with his mother, to understand that before she became your mother, she was just who she is. And a lot of times we put them in a space that they only can be a mother or a father, but they also have, as you mentioned, a journey through life. And you're a part of that journey, but you're not all of that
Not
journey.
all of it. Yeah,
And
it's yeah. Keep going. I'm sorry. Yeah.
no, you're fine. Say what you were going to say.
You bring up so many thoughts because it's kind of like the cell phone generation. When you grew up and cell phones were around, that's all you know existed. You don't know about the phone with the long cord,
Say that.
right? You don't even know about the cordless phone. You don't know about none
Yes.
of these things, right? And you're right, and it's interesting because you say I only know her as mom. I don't know her as woman, as lover. I don't these things that I don't even imagine, or as child, as daughter.
Yes.
And when you don't know the breadth of that human being, that person, then you box them in only to the space that you can see them, and you give a false expectation on them that they will never live up to.
Yes. Yes.
And I realized that I did do that, and I had to, one, just do a lot of reflective thinking and praying, because I know the feelings that I still felt were very real as of the disappointment.
Yes.
So having to reconcile real feelings with real understanding was
Yes.
definitely a difficult path and a difficult experience to get through. And I'm still getting through it. I have not got on the other side yet. I'm still, getting through it, but I'm far greater than what I was, at least.
I just love that you're talking to someone again that may be in that very spot that you just spoke of, and understand that you have to look at it from a 360 point of view. Nothing is just one thing. And because you acknowledge it and you said you're working with it, that is the best thing to get to healing completely. So, not trying to be the
Hmm.
uh, wizard or tell you guys what to do, but I really applaud you for being transparent and talking about a love that you somewhat forgot about, and now you understand and bring it back to where you are.
Yeah, and one other thing that really, because I really love history, and as I begin to understand, as I learn more and more about history, I also had to reflect the time that my mother grew up,
Mm,
right? In the 50s and the 60s, and understand what the world was like then.
yes.
Because there was a different level of trauma that they had to experience that I've never experienced, where they killed Malcolm X and Martin King. That's a different level, because these were national global heroes. These were the Moseses for us back then
Mm-hmm.
that were killed because of them standing up. I haven't had to live through that and
Yeah.
the trauma that comes with that.
Yeah.
And that was another element that I know plays on the hearts, minds, and spirits of people back then. And so I also had to broaden my scope of how I was processing who she is, who she was, and what all she'd been through, to soften up my hard heart for my own little personal things that I was dissatisfied with.
Yes. Yes. And hopefully, because you have came to that conclusion, do you have children?
Biologically, no, but
Okay.
yes, I have one adopted daughter.
Okay, so that will also help you or help her navigate if she ever has those perspective where, oh, you didn't do this or it didn't come this way. You can guide her and say, hey, I've been there, and here's where my conclusion lie. So we have to, I
Mhm.
believe, each generation pour in so they can have greater understanding. My
Yeah.
perspective.
It's funny. I literally just had to have that conversation with her 48 to 72 hours ago.
Wow.
I just had to have that conversation with her, believe it or not, because um, I live in Mounds Edge and she works at Nellis Air Force Base.
Wow.
She now lives with me, so it's a far hike. So I said, well, hey, let me just take you to work today. And so now we're talking and talking and talking. And now some, hot button issues come up. And now she's reflecting on her past. And then she was reflecting on, well, there was a time when I needed this and you weren't there. And now we're having these conversations. And so in that, you're right. I literally just had those conversations. So you're absolutely right about that.
And that's great. I think what we all need to continue to do is communicate with each other. Because of that, we will find out little pieces of blockage that we had no idea about. Just like she said, oh, I needed you to do this. You probably never knew of it, never thought about it,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever the
Mm-hmm.
case may be. And that may be something that she was holding against you, not
Yes.
really knowing that you was not even aware of it.
Not even aware. That's 100% of what part of our conversation was. Some things I had no clue about. In her mind, I should have known. And again, this is the human side of it. You don't realize when you're young what the adult could be dealing with, going through, that their blind spot is something that you feel should be in their immediate eyesight.
Yeah, whew, come on, tell that wisdom.
Right.
Yes.
And we don't have these conversations with youth early on to understand that as human beings, we all grow up with blind spots.
Yeah,
Just things
yeah.
I don't see, I don't know. Don't assume I know anything. Matter of fact, assume I know nothing
Okay.
unless you tell me.
Yeah,
And that's what I like to live by.
I really like that. One thing I'm a big believer of, when I have young ladies and young men come to me and they tell me all these horrible things about their parents or they're in conflict, I am soon to remind them that before they had you, again, they were a whole person making decisions without you. And sometimes those decisions affect you later, not knowing that it would be that, that issue. So I don't mean to go on and on. We're definitely
Yeah.
here to have fun, but I want people to have the perspective that we can forget about the love, but we can also be brought back to the
Mhm.
center of what love is.
Yeah. And that's a great way to focus it, because it's not a question I've ever been asked. Definitely not something I've thought about. And I'm in a season of transparency personally. And so, nothing better than to continue with that transparency and say, hey, you know what, this is what I've experienced front and center.
I thank you for just offering that wisdom. And you don't know, someone said this a while ago, you don't know if it's someone you're helping right now or 2 years from now. So, because of your transparency, I bless it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
let's get into the meat and potatoes about music.
Ooh, okay.
I love music. Music has turned me all the way out. I say in a good way. And in a good way. But before I get
Mm.
to my question about music, let's just honor someone that has passed away on, I think it was Wednesday. You know who I'm referring to?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
His music has transitioned from generation to generation to generation.
Hmm.
I mean, it's always at the cookout. It's always somewhere to celebrate life and love.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
person I'm talking about is Frankie Beverly and Mays. He passed away on Wednesday,
Yeah.
which was the 11th. And 11th is a master number. So we know he's done his work here. Can you just maybe identify a song that you really, or a couple of songs that you really enjoyed of his that has blessed your spirit?
Yeah. So, um, one of my business partners um, was on the road with Frank for many years, helping run his tours. They maintained a close relationship even up to this day. Actually, they were in talks to bring one of his final, because he did a show in LA not too long ago, and they were in talks to bring one of his like true finale shows back to our city. Obviously, he ended up passing away. His last show he did we were just talking about this. His last show he did was in San Jose. That was his very last show, and then he passed away at home in Oakland. And I didn't even know he lived in the Bay Area, to be honest. But the song that speaks to me first is "We Are One," right?
Ooh.
Because it plays in so many dynamics, whether it's a mother and a son, whether it's a family, a marriage, brotherhood or sisterhood, or it's maybe at large Black America.
Mhm.
And if you want to take it larger, humanity.
Yes.
It just transcends any aspect of life and living that we often get boggled down in our differences and not the unifying forces that bring us together in oneness.
Yes.
And so when I think about his music, that is the song that if we just played that and actually listened to it, how could I look at my brother or sister as someone of an enemy,
Mm.
knowing that we're one,
Yes.
right? How could I treat someone poorly, knowing that we're one? And I think it's because we forget the oneness, the connection in being one, that we live life backwards. We live
Mm.
life less than what we should. And it's just such an inspiring song that I think is going to be continuous through the generations.
Yes.
From Mama playing it loud when she cleaning the house and you a kid, to being an adult and ain't nobody there and you singing the top of your lungs, and whether you come to see Ken Young sing it, and I think we're going to do it. Matter of fact, I just heard from Dr. Cornell West's nephew that lives here in Vegas. He
Mm.
said, "Hey, are you doing a Frankie Beverly and Mays all white tribute day?" He said, "Because it's a national tribute day next Friday."
Okay, I need to be a
And,
part of it.
and so they're doing an all white everywhere in the country. They're asking everybody who do events or concerts to come together and do some all white parties in the spirit of Frank and his all white stuff that he would, wear when he would do his concert and stuff. So I know we're most likely going to make it an all white Frankie Beverly weekend, where most likely Friday we'll do it. We'll probably do some for Saturday, and then Sunday finale of Blue Martini as well. We'll probably just make it an all white. So we just keeping that spirit of Frank and all the great music that he's produced.
I love it. I love it. We want to usher him into his next journey with
Mhm.
love. And if everyone is putting on all white and singing his songs, I believe that will definitely usher him into the next step. And think about the songs that he has provided. It's been nothing but healing. And not only healing, on my podcast, I have a question talking about a song that brings everybody together. And the majority of the people has mentioned a song for Frankie Beverly, whether it's a rodeo, whether they've been at a outing, if they hear the song, whatever
Mhm.
song it is usually of unity and everybody together.
Yeah, and as I was sitting here, there's two more songs of his that are to me are like just, and obviously there's a catalog, but
Yes.
my second song is "Golden Time of Day."
Oh, yes.
Mm. Um, and then I toggle between Joy and Pain and Southern Girl.
Ooh, Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Yes, yes. Okay, you bringing up the
you know,
hits. You bringing up the hits.
and he just has such a body of work and dedication to his people.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, he's a professional artist, but his music and his commitment is just undeniable.
Yeah.
And it's just transformative. And I think that, again, if we listen to his music more, the world would be in a better place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you brought up some absolutely great ones. Yay. I love that.
Yeah.
So we send him good energy on his flight, on his journey, and what he has left us and provided for us, we'll continue to use it as a healing agent for us
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
many ways. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I didn't know you had the connections like that. So it worked out. That was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, speaking of connections, speaking of things, I'm going to throw out one word that I heard you say,
Mm.
and I want you to elaborate from whatever perspective your heart gives you. Harvest, the word harvest. What gives you, what's your perspective on that?
Harvest.
Yes.
Ooh. Mm. So I live by the principle seed time and harvest. I am a big sower because I trust the infinite word of if you plant, if you water, the harvest, the increase will come. It's
Yes.
not even a if. What you sow will come. And so I do a lot of things in life knowing that I don't have to expect a return from you because I know where my harvest comes from.
Hmm.
Right. So I don't get frustrated when I'm in the world or when I'm giving my time or my money or my professional expertise because I know where my provision comes from, hence my harvest comes from. And I think that, and it's not, and then other part of it is, truth be told, is that harvest doesn't only come from what we do because there's people who've been planning on our behalf long before we came to reap anything. And so I really work to stay grateful to those who have planted and watered on my behalf without me knowing. Grandmama and my great aunt and relatives and ancestors that have never even mentioned it to me. But even as far as strangers who didn't even know they were planting and watering on my behalf,
Yes.
there is a certain idea that God will let other people set something up for themselves, but it will be left for you.
Ooh. Wow. I think, wait, that's a pause moment. I think you need to say that one more time because that's a perspective I've never heard. Say it one more time.
So I'll give you an example and then I'll repeat it. Um, Pharaoh in Egypt had so much wealth and gold, not for the children of Israel, but for himself.
Hmm.
But when the appointed divine time came, and it was time to let my people go, he sent them out with riches that they didn't create.
Mm,
Here, y'all take this and go. They
yes.
left with stuff that they didn't create, but they definitely was able to harvest.
Oof.
And I truly believe that there are things that are set up for us. It was set up for us in eternity and nobody can stop it.
Mm,
We just have to understand when it's time to harvest. And a lot of times we miss it because we allow distractions to constantly, fog our purview and our perspectives. And so that's why I say that there has been things that people have gained and acquired and maintained for themselves that will be left for us.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
What a perspective. And I'm pretty sure this perspective will penetrate someone's perspective and give them a different point of view. Like, okay. And we can also, if I may jump on that, that's a parent that is doing something and their children are adults, but the parent is continue to work, work, work. And when they
Yeah.
pass on, the fruits of their labor, excuse me, is passed on to them. And they said, wait a minute, I didn't know mom was doing this. I didn't know dad was doing it. They never knew about it, but it benefits them and the family to come.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. And,
I,
and that's exactly it. And that's why, woe unto us is if we keep leaving poverty and we keep passing on debt to our children and our next generations. And it's up to us. And part of my life work is to break the spirit of poverty
mm,
in business to where I never was able to go work for anybody that was Black. I never got a paycheck signed from somebody that looked like me. But I'm so grateful that there are people that work for us that are young men and women that get a paycheck that's signed by us, like me.
yes,
It's a mindset that has to change, and that's the beginning of a large part of changing it,
yes,
is to reimagine that we can sometimes be the owners.
yes.
We can be the lenders and not just the borrowers.
I think in this current atmosphere and generation, this is projected. If you look on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, we are seeing this more and more that they look like you and I, and they're signing the paychecks. And you're definitely right, because this is an example for the next generation that they won't even blink an eye about and say, yes, it is what it is. It's not even a thing. And I think that is a great example that needs to be set. We are setting the example for that. So, yes, kudos to you for that. And to be able to say, yes, I write the checks for someone that looks like me.
Yeah, and and without running, because I don't want to miss the point about the harvest idea, but we also have to remember that we harvest spiritually too.
Come on, you talking like I like to
And
talk.
and I think that we 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 talk to God, but we don't listen enough. We get, but we don't acknowledge. And a lot of times we only know that God get me out of something and I'm out of it. And even when we know we out of it, we go on about our business like he didn't even have to help us to get out of it. We'll take credit for some. We'll think we just got by this time. Oh, I got out of it. No, God gave you some grace,
Mm-hmm.
have some mercy on your butt. And I think that when we realize as well, your prayers are seeds planted in the
Mm,
womb of the divine.
come on.
And there's a time capsule that goes into fulfillment. And when that time comes, and I think it's meted upon a couple things. It's meted upon your preparation
Mm,
and God's divine timing, that the harvest from what you prayed for to what you sought God for, that it comes to harvest too. And we don't look at life a lot of times in those terms spiritually, in harvesting all the goodness that is out there that our creator has for us. But it's just reality. The principle is bigger than, and often we're given physical principles truly to understand spiritual principles. It
Yes.
has the duality meaning in most cases. We just typically look at it, oh, it's time to go harvest. Let's go. I got this brand new car. God bless me. Well, He's been blessing you spiritually for a long time, but you never acknowledge that to anybody.
Yes.
Right? He has renewed your heart and your mind. You could have been out there on something and you hear it with the same mind. That's a harvest.
Yes.
Right. So I just want to make sure I kind of, added that element and that angle to our conversation.
No, it's my talk. It's what I feel. It's my tone and my cadence. And I say this all the time, that we are a spiritual being having a physical experience. So if we go to what we are, number one, which is that spiritual being, it is always going to apply, even if it's physical, it's always going to apply to the spiritual part of us.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for letting me go down this road and just kind of pick your brain. Because I said, I'm just going to throw out harvest and see what he said. You impressed me. How about that?
I got lucky this time.
No, I don't believe it's luck. I believe you was already internally prepared. But I digress. I digress. Let's get back into what I mentioned at the very, very beginning. Let's talk about, I'm a native of Las Vegas. You're a native of Las Vegas.
Mm.
We love our natives. And I say that because so many times we have people that are moving here from other places, which I bless it. But our story as natives need to be told in the most authentic way.
Yeah. Mm.
And we cannot forget about who we are because of what we've done, because of our sacrifice, good or bad. People are able to come here and really reap the harvest, so to speak. So, what do you see in the next 5 to 10 years for Vegas, being
Oh
a
man.
native?
Gosh. I get anxious having this conversation because when Eric and I were just talking, I was telling him about how my frustration is we have so much potential, and I'm narrowing it. I'm narrowing it to us as Black folks, particularly, but we have so much potential, Black and Native.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, uh, that we, but we live and move like we're inept.
Mm,
The city is going to grow regardless. People are going to come and honor us or not honor us. Don't care, it don't even matter. It's whether or not we choose to say, this is the paint that I'm going to put on the canvas, because this is what I believe we should see, what we should have, how it should be, or I'm going to go sit in a corner, take my ball and go home, or I'm going to just be in my routine of life and not seek to change it for the better for not just you, not just your children, because here's the reality is that no matter how good we try to make it for our kids in our home, right? I sent them to the best school. I gave them the best stuff and I did. That's great, but they still have to live in the environment. And if you don't put your hand to improving the environment has a way of overtaking those that
yes.
inhabited it. There was a story and I'll be short with this. There was a brother who raised his son. I said, man, I got my son off to college, got him to a Division I to go play sports. He also had an academic scholarship, etc. So he's junior in college. He comes home, spend time with his dad. It's summertime. So one night, his son decides to go out and take a night on the town, go hang out, kick it with the people. His dad was his dad was sleeping, but heard a siren and just woke up. Was like, oh, this siren was kind of close to the house. That's weird. Okay, no big deal. Lay back down, went back to bed. Siren got a little bit closer, and his dad was like, okay. He couldn't really go back to bed. So he was laying there. And then suddenly he said he saw some kind of light go by his house. And it was a light of color, so he knew it had to be some like a police or ambulance or something. So he said he was a little concerned, went into the room, son wasn't there, not a big deal, but he was like, okay. So he said he called his son. The phone rang, but his son didn't answer. So, okay, no problem. So he decides to say, okay, I wonder what's going on. So he goes out, looks out his window, and sees several lights flashing. Puts on some clothes and decides, I'm going to go outside and see what's going on. Walks down the street. Something happened bad. Somebody ended up being killed. It's about a block and a half away. Found out it was his son.
Oh.
His son was killed by another boy that lived 2 doors down that he grew up with.
What?
On the same street. Now, the father, after he got through everything, he said, my biggest regret was I didn't raise the boy that was 2 doors down the street from me who had no father.
Mm-hmm.
That's the environment. And if we only think taking care of my home is sufficient, we don't understand that the environment will take care of you in ways you don't even know.
Yeah.
Right. And that story just stuck with me when I heard it. Because I grew up on the historic West Side. I grew up in Valley View neighborhood and the Regal Estates, the States. My father was the States. My mother family was the Valley View. And, when I was growing up in the 80s, in the 90s, drugs and gangs was at the all-time high. And there's friends that I had that's not living, did not make it past high school and things like that. And so I know all too well what the environment can look like and what it can do.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I spend time working on the environment as much as I do working on myself and the internal family, things like that.
I love that. I say on this platform, village, tribe. It's the same thing. If I see a baby that it does not have to be my child, if they need food, if they need clothes, it don't have to be a baby, it can be adult. If I can do it within my means, I will do it. Because at the end of the day, it benefits all of us because we're all in the same village, we're all in the same tribe. And
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
perspective of what the story you just told. Yeah, he did work on his child. He did all those things. But as he's saying that, I probably should have tried to pour into that baby 2 houses down.
Yeah. And the reason why I brought that up in your question about where is Vegas going the next 5 years is because I like to understand the inner working of where we are now. And if we don't realize that, one, we have to lock arms. I won't say the proverbial quote of if we all come together. I hear it all the time. I have not seen that happen in my 46 years of living if we all come together. So I won't say that. But I do know within a tribe or a village that we have to really, really, really focus on recreating that because we have become so individualistic nowadays that you can only go far. I mean, you can only go fast by yourself. But if you want to go far, go together, go with others. And we're going fast to nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We got a couple dollars, we get a vacation, and we think we've made it. Yet, in all the bad things we lead, all the good things we're last in.
Yeah.
But,
If I may say so, I think, no, I'm not going to say think, I know from my perspective that is levels. If you have a level number 1 trying to do something at a level number 7, it's going to be conflict. The level number 1 sitting with the level number 7 don't understand that they're moving further this way and the level number 1 is just moving up. And I say that because I was invited a year or so ago to a table full of individuals, and everybody had their own thing that they brought to the table. And the person that hosted the event kind of just said, hey, we're here to just kind of have a brain thump, think about some things, talk about some things. They didn't have a set strategy. Well, it was 2 people at the table that said, I don't know why I'm here. This is a waste of time. You guys, and they kept saying, hey, we don't have anything planned. This is just a brain dump. What I learned from that was you cannot have everybody in the room because everybody's perspective is not the same. It's layers. And what I'm seeing throughout my lifetime, that we put this jacket on us as Black people, that we all have to do the same thing at the same time. It's 7 lanes in a row. Find the lane that works for you. It's still going the same way, but it may be moving just a little bit slower. So I'm very keen on knowing if they're not ready, they're not ready. That's just like somebody that's on drugs. You can do everything you try to do. You can show them like, oh, if you do this, look how great. But until they recognize, until they know where they're at, we can't do anything about it. So that's my perspective on us. And that's also the village. In the village, you have many people doing many things. So I didn't mean to run away with it, but I just really feel like that, because if you see in other nationalities, they don't put that jacket on everyone. You have people that contribute at different levels. And it's not to say one is better than the other.
Right.
It's just, where's your mind perspective? Where's your worldly experience? And let it fit or move for your highest good.
Yeah. Look, if you're not good at shooting the ball, just go rebound. Do what you're good at.
Yes.
And you can become great at that thing.
Yes.
And if you optimize what you're good at to greatness, we all win.
Absolutely.
Right? Everybody don't have to have, the big feathers, as long as we all play our part to our best ability. And so for me, where we're going as a city is we have to be really careful, because to me, Vegas is a city that's almost like pre-Lakers, Dodgers, Raiders. Before they got all those teams became major. The cost of living is going up noticeably, eventually unattainable for people. And if we don't advance our thinking as a community, if we keep just living separately and we're not having bigger conversations to have a more strategic plan of how are we going to be able to capitalize on the economy? Because, there are certain nationalities that it doesn't matter what goes on in the economy, they stay in front of it. Matter of fact, they shape it. There's some nationalities that got a whole street on Spring Mountain.
I know who you're referring to.
And now they're creating a second one of those on Rainbow.
Yes.
Because they work together. And, look, I say money is always available.
Yeah.
It's the people, the plan, and the strategy of how we're going to be able to economically advance ourselves. It's on us. It ain't on nobody else.
Yes.
And so, the city is, I think the city is, I love our city. I think the opportunity is so abundant. I told someone, because we had Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett at Mariposa. That's the sister girl that called the Congresswoman Marjorie Greene the bad, bleach blonde, bad built. So I had a brother that came to the event that we had in Mariposa, and he was shaking hands with our Attorney General, with our state senators and assembly people, with presidents of organizations. And I said, our city is fluid and it's open.
Yes.
You don't have to pay your way into the power structure per se. You can meet the power players if you just have a little bit of energy to go out and do something.
Yeah.
And that's
Yes.
the beautiful part of our city. If you want to, you can. If you don't want to, then you'll get whatever the city decides is for you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just so happen to believe in being a native. I take a keen interest in where the city is going, and I need a piece of the pie for my community.
Yes.
I just hope that our community will be insistent on being part of it. Because look, technology is advancing. A lot of jobs are going to be lost
Yes.
in hospitality. They're looking every day on how they can replace human labor.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't have a concerted plan to deal with it, then our community is going to suffer the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
Worse than what we're already getting.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of great things happening. Obviously, you probably saw Sony is doing
A
a big,
soundstage.
yeah, and Warner Brothers is doing an $8 billion, to bring their stuff here. And there's technology centers going up, and a children's all children hospital going up, because we're one of the biggest city in the country that doesn't have one right now. Um, there's a ton of stuff coming to our. I think it's right now there's about $4 to $6 trillion in development coming into our city in the next 10 years.
Wow.
Obviously, they approved the second airport to be built.
Oh, see, I wasn't aware of that.
Absolutely, they're moving forward with the second airport.
Wow.
Commercial airport. And there's a lot of, obviously, the fast rail system that they're moving
Yes.
forward with.
To California.
Yeah, yeah. That's moving full steam ahead, and you can go on and on and on. The city is growing exponentially. We are keeping our heads down, and hence we're not in. I keep my head up, and I'm trying to make sure I keep us in as far as I can go. But again, we have to move more in a unit than we do individual.
Yeah. I think just by you kind of just bullet pointing the things that are going on, someone that's watching this go, oh, or let me do my research. Or, yes, now maybe my child that wanted to be in technology, now I can encourage them because they like to use their hands. If they're going to have a robot now out at the casinos serving drinks, who is now going to be the one that fix or
Mm-hmm.
code the robot?
Mm-hmm.
If we think on that perspective, we will always continuous have either own it or be able to program it. The programmers are the one that's going to be able to say yay or nay, because they're the ones that's going to be able to make sure it's operational. So if we think on that perspective, it will push us forward on a global level.
Yeah, and again, like, I was talking to a dear friend that's in Ghana right now, and preparing for my first visit back to the motherland, coming up next year. And
Congrats.
obviously, thank you. And we're global people. Our economy is global, and I think that our city is global.
Yes.
And there just comes a time where we have to look at the possibilities and immerse ourselves in them, instead of being in the hamster wheel of, I just got, paycheck to paycheck, and I can never try to get out of that cycle. I can never get a cycle of someone writing a check for me. Inflation will keep happening, deflation will happen, and you can't depend on one income. You got to make some strategic moves. But if you are an island unto yourself, good luck.
Yes, that's very true. Well, hopefully, this conversation will stimulate someone to say, okay, all of these things I need to take into perspective. And guess what? I'm going to come to that village, or I'm going to come to that harvest, and I'm going to give my 2 cents. And guess what? 9 times out of 10, it will be someone that has that same perspective and say, brother, let's link together. Let's do something. And it may be someone over in Ghana that has the same thing. And now you have Ghana and Vegas linked with materials or services or whatever the case may be. I just want to put in the perspective that nothing is impossible. Only what you think and believe is impossible. So,
No, and you're absolutely right. And furthermore, I've been working with a Senegalese brother for multiple years, where I actually was one of the sponsors. Him and I sponsored a trip sending 50 Black folks to Senegal, Ghana, and one other country in West Africa. But yeah, it's happening. We were managing partners of a restaurant lounge here in the city before we bought Mariposa, where there were 3 African brothers that owned the place. And so we worked with them. And then prior to that, I worked with some brothers, and they were Nigerian, who owned a place as well. And so it is happening. And matter of fact, there's a lot of working down in Houston with our African brothers and sisters, especially Nigerians, that are working a lot with us as well. And so I say that to say that the opportunities are so abundant for us. And they're even bigger opportunities when we collaborate and partner and work together.
yeah.
And, our city is just, obviously, we know that Major League Baseball is moving forward. They're already sourcing vendors for the stadium. We know NBA is shortly to follow. There's multiple, groups and billionaires that are vying for who's going to have the NBA team. And, and during the pandemic, Vegas was the number one city for African Americans to move to. They moved to Vegas out of any other city in the country. They moved to Vegas as the number one place. And so those people need services.
Yeah.
They need to find places to eat. They got to find places to get their hair did, their outfits, and I said the opportunities are abundant.
Yes.
It's just whether or not we're opportunistic to go after what's there. There's nothing that's holding us back but us.
Yes. Yes.
And so we've been creating the village furthermore, with an event that I've been curating, and maybe we'll maybe talk about that a little bit later, and we'll go over that though.
Okay. Definitely that. So let's just jump in. I know we talked about a couple of things at the beginning, but let's talk about music. Let's talk about, I asked my guests to tell me a lyric of a song that has either provided a lesson, a distraction, or a blessing. But before you tell me that information, there's rules to this.
Oh.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Now, if you can sing, I need you to sing your throw box out. I need you to give it to me. Don't put your head over your face. Now, if you can rap, I need you to come hard in the paint. Yes, I need you to do it like you do it. But if you cannot do either one of those,
that'd be
I need.
I'm the one that can't do either one of those.
Well, you get this last one. I need you to say it with passion. I need us to understand what you're saying and how you feeling. You know how they say in the street, stand 10 toes down. That's what I need you to give it to me. So I'll go back to my original question. So it's either a lesson, distraction, or a blessing. Can you identify a lyric to a song?
So the hook on a song that I listen to daily, and it's obviously it's the name of the song too, but it's actually called Dependable God.
Oh, wow. I've never heard that.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yes. Who is this by?
Oh my gosh, I am really Victor Thompson.
Okay, say that one more time because I want people to be able to tap in if they choose
Yeah,
to.
it's by Victor Thompson, Victor, Victor, like Victor Newman, Victor Thompson. Victor Thompson, and the song is called "Dependable God," and the
Mm.
hook is "Dependable God." And in a time where I went through the most transition in life, it's a song that has really, really, really got me through a lot of unexpected transition. And I think I probably listened to it so much that they probably took it offline and say, "Hold on, you done played this out. Listen to something else." Because
Wow.
at times when you're most vulnerable in life, and um, the smog gets thick and the rain doesn't
Mm.
stop, and you hopefully realize the source of everything and the resource of everything. And
Mm.
so I, just began to, cry out and hear and feel the pain of the problem, and feel the weight of it that I could also value when I'm on the other side of it.
Wow.
At time when it's always sunshine out and there's no clouds in the sky, you have a way of getting ahead of yourself. And I think I had a extended summer for so long that when the winter came, it came in blizzards.
Mm.
And so all I could do was repeatedly listen to that song, and to this day, it has a way. And when you hear it, it is a medley. It's a worship song. It will reposition, I think, all of what you think or imagine. Because
Mm.
when you truly, truly, truly realize how dependable our Creator is,
Yes.
there's nothing more that you can ask out of life, to know that you have someone in your corner that's dependable no matter what you're going through.